Good evening. Welcome to the Villa Pride Down Under podcast. My name is Tess. I'm alongside Rhino tonight, and our good friend Spud is away, probably having a nice, beautiful drink somewhere with the family and enjoying life because he didn't want to be here today. Well, I wouldn't want him to be here today for what was a disaster of a match at 3:30 a.m. this morning, Rhino. So obviously, the Champions League hangover is a real thing. It's a real thing. I've never believed in it, probably because I haven't been alive during the Champions League when we've been in it. But I've always been like, the Champions League hangover isn't a real thing. They should just get on with it and play the games and they'll be fine. It's a real thing. Rhino, welcome. How are you today,
Thanks,
buddy?
mate. I'm good, man. I think you summed it up pretty well. So we just pull the pin there and just call it off.
Let's go back to bed and get some proper sleep.
Yeah, and for people like you, Tess, you actually braved it and got up at 3:30 in the morning. I avoided the score and got up at 6 o'clock this morning and chucked it on. But yeah, not a great game for us, unfortunately. But and a chance missed, really. A couple of teams around us, obviously, results went our way again, but we weren't able to capitalise, and that seems to be the story of the season so far.
It is, and you notice all the pundits. They always talk about how, you know, they played a Champions League game. They gave it all. And in all fairness, I wasn't with you guys on the last podcast, but we'd beaten Celtic 4-2 at home at Villa Park under the lights. Amazing atmosphere, looked amazing. But then you think, oh, great form. Rodgers scored a hat-trick. Ramsey's got a couple of assists there. Like, we'll go into the next game against Wolves. Surely there's 3 points there. But then you turn up on the day and it looked as though at the start we were going to be okay. And then I think Wolves had that one attack, didn't they? And they had a really, really, really good move. It was, in fairness, I thought it was a really, really good move, and they've scored a goal and beat Martinez on the near post. I had thoughts about that. I had thoughts about how we defended that, and of course there were defensive changes in the team, weren't there? We had the new, is it
Garcia? Garcia made his debut.
Andres Garcia's come in.
For me.
Sorry.
That was a bit of a surprise for me, Garcia starting, but I was happy with it though. It was nice to see him put him in, and a game against Wolves away is a tough game, but I wasn't expecting it. But good to see him start. We were flat that first half though. We didn't really get going, and like you said, the goal early on, first chance for Wolves again. A team, their first chance they score. I'm the same as you, sort of watching the goal back just now. I think Kamara sort of gets found out a little bit positionally. And then Martinez probably should do better at his near post for me, but we'll probably get into it a bit later. He saves our skin later on, doesn't he? With, I think, three quality saves to keep us in the game. But that starting lineup, Tess, any other surprises for you other than Garcia?
Yeah, Garcia was the main one. I thought we were going to have Bogard probably go in there and maybe Garcia come on as a second half substitute or something along those lines to kind of ease him back in. But yeah, really surprised that he started. Bailey, I thought Bailey would have started because he's been starting so far and Emery stuck with him for a long time to try and play him into form. So that was a bit of a surprise not to see him in the lineup. But otherwise, no, not really. I wasn't surprised too much by what we had in the lineup. And I thought there was enough players there to do the job, really. Like, there isn't any reason why these players can't go and do a job against Wolves, who haven't had the best season, to be honest with you. So I thought it was a good lineup, yeah.
Yeah, and like the way Wolves set up, I think they were good value for their lead. They took the lead early. You could see then they got the goal and they were just going to sort of sit back, clog the defence, 4-5, in the midfield there. No one really forward when Villa had the ball. So they were, it was obviously going to be on us to break them down. And again, in that first half, we didn't really make many chances or look like we were going to create anything, really, did we? We were sort of, like you say, best description is a Euro hangover, isn't it, really? And just, And, like you said, though, Tess, I wasn't surprised to see many changes just because we just don't have the personnel at the moment. So, but what we had on the field was definitely good enough to cause that Wolves defence some problems. That's obviously been leaking a lot of goals as well. And they, just outside the relegation zone now, just jumped out. So for me, it's a massive opportunity missed. But yeah, that first half, I think, the early goal, it just kills us though then, doesn't it? Because Wolves are going to sit behind the ball. It's on us to try and get back into the game, and we just didn't look like we had the quality. And to be honest with you, the only team that looked like we're going to score again in that second half was Wolves. Like, I know Kun had a good chance, and Paredes, I think his name is. Yeah, so Martinez sort of kept us in it there at halftime, just to be 1-0 down. I was kind of like, we've got away with it a little bit here, and got a halftime 1-0. I thought, all right, we'll have a reset at halftime, and we'll come out and have a crack at this.
Just going into that first half, though, we are a team that likes to have that structure and play with the ball, and I like that. I like that we do that, but sometimes it just feels as though we just stifle our play, and we just give the opposition, if they're going to do a low block, we just give them the opportunity to get into that low block and just sit there, especially when we're playing away from home. And we haven't had really good results away from home this season, have we? We've really poor if you compare it to what we did last season, I'd imagine, But we tend to keep the ball too much. We're not direct enough. Give the opponents enough time to get back into that low block. And then it's almost as if we can't find a way to attack the goal or get a shot on target or anything like that. What do you think the thinking is behind Emery insisting that we stick to that, especially when knowing that we've got this away record, that we need to score more goals and we need to win games away from home? We just don't seem to be able to do it at the moment.
Yeah, the away record is really poor, and which is a massive contrast to our home form. So it's like night and day. At Villa Park, we're dangerous, but then away from home, we just, I don't know what it is. I think teams have sort of figured us out a little bit, and I think, looking at our tactics and the players we've got, we haven't been able to change it up a lot. So you've always got, Rodgers, Watkins, Ramsey's playing a lot of game time, and Bailey. And I think teams have sort of figured out, these players will do certain things. Ball carrying, Rodgers is a ball carrier. So if you can stifle him and keep him further down the ground and away from the box, sort of push him deeper, I guess, and push Villa deeper, then you're going to hurt, he's not going to hurt you from there. So I think teams sort of set up to try and make us play deeper and slower. But when we do speed it up, we do look dangerous. And, you got players like Ramsey and Rodgers, very similar. And I think we'll get on to transfers a little bit later on. But I think that's one thing that's probably hurt us a little bit as well. We've got players who are very good carrying the ball forward, very good athletically, but we probably just don't have that magician, let's say that that player who can, I don't know, pick those passes or that little moment of magic. We've got very talented players there, but we're probably just missing something in that final third for me. And I think that comes from other teams figuring us out. And obviously there's been drops in form. We've spoken about it a lot. Leon Bailey hasn't really hit any sort of form this season, and that hurts. And obviously injuries have robbed us of a lot of players as well then. But yeah, there's no excuses. What we put out today was definitely good enough to get a result against Wolves away.
So it's just a hangover. I put it down to, I don't know whether we try to make teams just run a little bit too much to set them into a trap so we can do a counter attack and play our way. It's just sometimes you just feel like whip the ball into the box, get the ball in the box and have a go. And sometimes we just don't seem to do that. And sometimes, especially when you wake up at 3:30 in the morning, it can be a little bit frustrating. You're just like, oh my God, just like cross the ball in the box, for crying out loud.
Well, you're right, because we've got the players there to do it, though, haven't we? You look at Luca Dean and some of the, and Yuri Tielemans and these players who can sort of deliver these balls in the box. I'm with you. Mix it up sometimes. Get the ball in there. Let Watkins try and get on the end of it. And yeah, we're a little bit predictable and a little bit stale, aren't we? And I think it does need that little change up, like you're saying. Instead of just trying to play it slow and draw teams out, maybe just start whipping the ball in the box a little bit as well.
It was niggly, though, this game, wasn't it? It was one of those games where you could tell it was a sort of Midlands derby, wouldn't it? It was like just any little niggles and people falling all over the place and all that kind of stuff. And then the referee getting involved and trying not to, blow the whistle too much at the start. But you had no choice. You blow for one, you got to blow for the other one. It just got to a bit niggly. And I don't want to like make excuses, but I feel like we get drawn into that all the time. We don't need to be drawn into playing though. That's not our game. Like we're not good at the dark arts in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Don't at me or anything, but my opinion is we're not good at the dark arts. And so when other teams are drawing us into it, we have to try and stay away from getting drawn into that because we don't often come up trumps in that, and we didn't today. So Rhino, look, it took us to half time, and I was yawning. And for those of you on Spotify audio, and I'm literally making the yawning with my hand and everything like that. So I go and make a cup of coffee. I come and sit back down. I think, all right, second half, here we go. We're going to do something good. But then I just see a bunch of players on the sideline. 4 different players on the sideline getting ready to come on. What did you make of that?
After the first half, something had to happen, didn't it? So I was surprised 4 changes, to be honest.
4 changes.
That's quite unlike Unai Emery. It's quite that's quite full on. But obviously Watkins has picked up looks like a groin strain or something. Yeah. So that wasn't good. So I'm hoping that's not a bad one. They've sort of just taken him off early. But yeah, 4 changes definitely needed. But the changes definitely changed the shape of the team. So Maatsen coming on for Luca Dean. So that meant, Maatsen's obviously quite forward as a fullback, likes to get forward. And then Bogard dropped in at right back for Garcia, who'd come off at half time. I thought he played all right. I thought for a first half debut, I thought he looked good going forwards. We didn't look particularly great at the back, but from all of our defenders. But that definitely changes the shape a bit then, because Bogard drops from centre midfield to right back. So that probably gives Maatsen more of a license to get forward. And then obviously Bailey's come on as well. So he's on the right. So Bogard's been pushed back to right back to be that more solid right back for me and allow Bailey on the right and then Maatsen to get forward. Onana, good to see him back, actually. That was one good inclusion on the bench, seeing Onana back. We've been short of bodies in the middle there. And yeah, Doniel Marlon can come on as well. So yeah, the 4 changes, a lot of moving parts, but we started well though, and I think the changes actually, gave us what we wanted. We sort of got back into the game a little bit, didn't we? What did you make of them all, mate? The 4 changes.
Well, I was going to leave the sort of Ollie bit until a bit later, just to have a little discussion on what's happening with Ollie, because he did pull up with a bit of a groin. What looked like a groin issue, didn't it? So
yeah.
I wanted to talk about that in a little while, but I saw 4 players off the bench just standing there, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, what's happening?" Like, he's probably gone in there and given a few people a rocket, because it almost appeared to me that Jacob Ramsey got lost in that first half, didn't he? Like, it just didn't. I don't know whether it's he got lost or whether we just couldn't find him. We just didn't seem to be able to find him enough. And Luca Dean, obviously, we know what we're going to get from Luca Dean. We just needed something a little bit more attacking going forward, strengthen the midfield a little bit. And I think Unai was protecting Garcia from playing against, I think he was being playing against Cunha, right? Was he playing against Cunha? Yeah,
possibly. There was a few. Sarabia was up there as well.
Sarabia was up there. Just protecting him because it's his first game in the Premier League, and thought, Bogard can do the job, and we'll put him out there. But I was really impressed because I think we scored a goal, didn't we? VAR said we didn't score a goal.
Yeah, but
they also said it wasn't offside. So for me, it was a goal. It was a goal, but if you're running an offside position, but you come back and then you touch someone on the back, all of a sudden it's obstruction. I mean,
yeah, it's funny because if Rodgers runs around the back of Semedo, if he cuts in just in front of him, then it's probably play on. And there is a little touch from Rodgers, isn't there, where he sort of comes around the back of Semedo and sort of like touches him. There's not much in it, but I think it's just that little touch and going behind him. has probably pushed VAR to disallow it. It's very harsh for me, but
very harsh.
It's a really
very
good
harsh
play as well. It's a lovely set piece, and unfortunately Marlon gets a goal, but it's disallowed. But to be honest with you, Marlon looked really sharp when he came on, and he was making some lovely runs. He had a few chances, and it's a shame that goal didn't go in, because I think it would have changed the outlook of the game. If we get that goal on 53 minutes, we've made all those subs, we were sort of on top, not by a lot, but we'd had a little bit more energy. And I feel like if we'd have got that goal, I could have seen us kicking on.
Yeah.
But we didn't. And it sort of just drifted away again, the game, didn't it, from us? And I thought, but just getting back to Marlon, very good, lively. His runs in behind looked very clever. And I think he's gonna offer us a lot. He looks very different to Ollie Watkins. And like you were just talking about earlier, Jacob Ramsey, Morgan Rogers, I think Marlon's going to offer something different. I just think he looks like a clever runner and sort of that natural, sort of more forward type player who's going to make runs in behind. And it was promising, some really promising things from him.
He's not scared to get the ball, was he? He wasn't scared to take the ball, get into those spaces, and wasn't scared to sort of run with the ball as well. Which was really, really nice to see and nice and refreshing to see. We also had Leon Bailey come on the pitch. What did you make? I thought he came on and actually did a really decent job for the time that he was on for the first part. He's a very soft player, like if he gets touched, like he goes to ground quite easily. But I felt like he was trying to do something in this game. It felt like he was trying to be more proactive in the game than we normally see him. He had some really good touches. He would seem to be playing direct. Now, I was like, where is this play been all season? Like, where have you been trying to get your foot on the ball and dictate play and trying to get in, cut inside or go wide and cross the ball in? And then I saw Jacob Townswell wrote, "Where's this Leon Bailey been?" I was like, you just said what I was thinking. And then after the game, the news comes out that, well, I don't know if it's news. It might be just a rumor that Manchester United might be interested in Leon Bailey. And I'm like, showing them what you got just to see if you can engineer yourself a move there, or it might have been. Hey, it might have been just coincidence. I'm just saying. It's just happened to be when we're losing the game, and you turn up all of a sudden, and next thing you know, Manchester United are speaking about you. So no, look, fair play. He did all right when he came on. We just didn't have it, did we? We just didn't. It just didn't look like we're going to score. We were turning the screw at one point until something happened. Oh, the substitutions. So
the Wolves subs.
Yeah, well, I thought we were turning the screw at that point. I thought we were starting to get some momentum and starting to really push them back and stuff. All of a sudden, the people who hold the flags and all that kind of stuff and the signage and blow the whistles decide that they're going to let players go off the pitch, start the game without another player being replaced on the pitch. and I think they took about 2 minutes, and I'm pretty sure he said 2 minutes and 40 seconds or something for all this stuff to happen. And then we just lost all of that momentum straight after then, didn't we? We just seemed to go flat again. We didn't have any energy again, and it was just really disappointing to watch. I'm not blaming them for our loss. We just didn't play well enough. There was 90 minutes. You can score 2 goals in 90 minutes. But that was annoying, and that was so frustrating to see. And so, of course, then we get down to the end of the game, and they seal the winner with Cunha. They could have had more, couldn't they? They could have had more goals than that.
Look, I think Wolves were well worth their victory one day. If we'd have got something out of there, it would have been a bit of smash and grab from us. We did have some chances late on. Marlon had a couple of chances that were saved. But other than that, like you said, there was nothing really, from us to say we deserved anything from it. I think Wolves were worth the victory there. And, they grabbed the last one late on. We were pushing high up the field. Obviously, Cons is right up there. We lose the ball, like, just outside their box, and then they just break. And Cunha does what he does, and he's having a good season and sort of buries one. But, yeah, it's really disappointing when we sort of touched on it that, we're still in 8th place now. we're still 4 points behind fourth. But, results overnight went our way. So Newcastle lost, Bournemouth lost. So we keep getting these chances, and we just keep letting them slip by. And I'm sort of looking behind us now in the table, sort of below us, I should say. I'm looking at teams like Fulham, Man United, these teams. I know there's a bit of a gap there, but we've got to pull our finger out. Otherwise, we're going to see these teams catch up to us as well. And yeah, it's disappointing. Another loss after a Champions League win and such a big game in midweek. Just sort of go flat after it. But anyway,
I was trying to skip over most of the game because I don't think there was much to talk about really in terms of action in the game or anything. I mean, the positives were that we saw Garcia play. We got to see Marlon play. He scored a goal. He was in really, really good positions, and it gives you kind of idea of what these players are going to be able to bring to our team moving forward. In saying that, good segue into sort of how we're going to play in the future, because we are short on players, aren't we? Our squad is thin. No Buendia, no Diego Carlos, no John Duran. Think of anyone else? I think that's it. They're the main three that have gone out. Yeah. So they've gone, and those players kind of need to be replaced. In fairness, they weren't really playing for us in most of the time anyway, and so maybe it's time that we brought players in. I don't want to mention John Duran is slightly different, but in terms of Buendia, who's been injured for a long, long time, and Diego Carlos haven't really. Buendia, in his case, he's been injured and hasn't been able to get the minutes and get that confidence back yet. So a loan move for him is the right thing to do. In terms of Diego Carlos, I don't think his contribution to the club has been enormous. That I feel like when we've had him, we haven't played as well as we could do and as we have done since he hasn't been playing. And so we still need to kind of replace those players in order to get a bit of momentum. And maybe that's what the idea is. The idea is that these players aren't fresh anymore. We need some new ideas. We need some new players to bring in some fresh energy. Maybe that's the reason they've gone, and we're trying to bring in new signings.
Well, you look at the team, there's still a lot of Dean Smith, Steven Gerrard legacy players there, isn't there? Really, when you think about it. Like you think of, Buendia, Bailey, they sort of came in from the Jack Grealish money. Kamara was obviously Steven Gerrard's best thing he did for Villa. We thank him for that. But, we still got Mings, Konza, Cash, Martinez. We still got Watkins. Like the bulk of the squad is from a previous regime or a previous regime to that even. And I think what you're seeing now is, Unai Emery's obviously worked wonders with this squad. But he's probably hitting the wall with some players and his limitations. And that's, it's normal with any squad now, isn't it? You can't just chop and check. You can't chop everyone and get rid of everyone. So it's a slow process, and it's going to take a few windows. Unfortunately, I feel like the PSR rules now are more prevalent than what they've ever been. So it's another thing to factor in. It probably slows rebuilding down for a lot of clubs, doesn't it? You can't just go and spend as much as you want, as Chelsea and Man City did many moons ago. But for me, I think the players you've named there, Carlos, they tried to get rid of him in the summer. There was no takers. He didn't look happy. He wasn't playing well. And I know a lot of people are complaining because we're a bit short at the back. But for me, I'm convinced we'll sign a centre back by the end of the window. I can't see us not signing one. So I'm quite calm at the moment. We've got a little bit of time left in the window.
48
not
hours,
much.
I think.
We got 48 hours to do some work.
Yeah.
But you know what it's like in these windows, mate. Like you wait for one domino to fall, then there's the rest go after it. So I think we just got to be patient, and we'll probably jump on in the week. We'll probably do a midweek pod and review the window as a standalone pod. But yeah, there's work to do. We've obviously picked up another injury with Ollie. Anana came back in. McGinn's working his way back. So we are starting to see players come back, but there's definitely holes in that squad that are being filled. And there's a couple of imminent signings coming up. So, well, it looks like anyway with Rashford and Asensio. What's your thoughts, mate?
Oh, look, good point. I wanted to mention Ollie because when Ollie pulled up, I was like, oh. And sometimes a player pulls up and they just kind of like they try and play through it, but the cameras were right on his face, weren't they? They were like he had the grimace, and you just knew then, like when he didn't come out after half time, you just knew that could be a groin injury. That one, man, like from where he was holding, and you don't know how long that's going to be. How long they're out for. I wish somebody would tell me how long you'd normally go out for a groin injury, because I was actually worried. I knew we had Marlon there, but I was actually worried, thinking, oh, we're a bit light for strikers at the moment. We don't need an injury to Ollie. Please, please, please. Thankfully, we haven't got to do Champions League playoff or anything like that, because we would have needed him. But we have Marlon, who came on and showed that he could step in and do a job for us. So that was really, really good. What were you asking me just a minute ago? I was
just your thoughts on Rashford and Asensio, two guys who look like they're coming in on loan. So Rashford looks imminent, and Asensio does too, from what I'm seeing on Twitter anyway, from David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano.
Yeah, and big shout out to Mark Smith. How you doing, buddy? Hi guys, I'm not too disappointed, as we're playing with a makeshift defence and we're still there or thereabouts, even playing poorly. 100% agree with you. Don't want to make it. I'm trying not to make it sound negative. I think I'm just trying to give my opinion, and sometimes it comes across as being that negative thing. I don't mean it to be. I love our team. So, in terms of Rashford, I think we discussed on our WhatsApp, didn't we? Like some time ago, and I think I put a message in the post and said, Rashford might be available. Would you boys take him? So we didn't really have much of a conversation about it. But then it popped up that he might be interested in coming to Villa, or Emery's asked for him specifically if he's available for loan.
Yep.
My understanding about Emery is that he's really good in these former clubs at getting players in who may not be first choice at other clubs, or maybe out of form, and managing to bring them in and getting them to play minutes and play in a structure that he sets them up, and getting the best out of those players. Marcus Rashford is no longer one of those talents. He's not a rising talent. I think he's like 27 years old, and he should be in the next year, 27, 28, 29. He should be at the peak of his career. So he should be playing football now and playing his best football, in my opinion. And he's got bags of skill, bags of talent. I think he needs somebody to come and help him bring that out, so he can start enjoying his football again. In all honesty, Manchester United, and I might get a bit of flack for this, but they've been a disaster club for quite a few years now, in terms of their hierarchy, in terms of them bringing in top quality managers who can't seem to get a tune out of those players that they keep signing. They haven't been able to do it. They've always been uncertainty. They've had top managers who've been places and done things and won trophies. And the club's just been really, really, really bad, a really bad atmosphere. Now, some will say, well, Rashford doesn't turn up for training, and Rashford is a problem, or he's got an attitude problem, and all these sorts of things. I think sometimes you need a bit of stability around you. He doesn't own the club. He's an employee of the club, and where you go to work should be a really good environment, right? If he's coming to Aston Villa, he's got that. You've got the hierarchy is 100% a different situation since we were back in the days of other owners and all this sort of stuff. We have a management team who are very close knit, who discuss with each other day-to-day basis of what they want from the team. They're trying to build this squad. Unai Emery is specific about what he wants from each of his players, and the players have all bought in. And then you look at the type of players we've got at the moment, all good characters. We had one character who was fairly young and a little bit here and there, but in general, you look at our squad, very good characters. They're a unified bunch of players. They all know what they want, and if you bring someone in like Marcus Rashford, who's made no secret of having maybe mental health issues or these sorts of things back in the day or whatever it was, you've got people like Tyrone Mings who have openly discussed all these sorts of things, who have been there on the other side of it, who can help people like Marcus Rashford. I think if he comes on loan, we've got a talented footballer, and I think Emery can probably get the best out of him, hopefully, if he just buys into what our club's about, buys into the players that we got, and tries to integrate himself with the group of players that we got. So I think it would be a really good signing. Did I just ramble? I rambled there for about a month, didn't I?
No, that was good, mate. That was good. I enjoyed it. That was really good. And yeah, for me, I just want to add that, looking at Rashford and Asensio, we're looking at two players there who have played at the top level, internationals, Champions League. So they bring that experience straight into the squad. Rashford's 27, Asensio's 29. Both coming in on loans, so you'd say it's less of a risk. Obviously, we'll be covering the wages, but if it doesn't work out, then obviously there's options for the players to go back, etc. But for me, what I really like about the look of these two players, and from what I've seen of them, is they offer something different that we haven't got already. I feel like Rashford's versatility can play anywhere along that front line. Very skillful, tricky, willing to take people on, great finisher as well. It wasn't long ago, I think it was 22, 23, he scored 30 goals in all competitions. And he's got a decent record for United over his time there. Obviously, he's had a few seasons there now where it's, like you said, it's sort of fallen apart for him, but I think that's more circumstance than anything. Same for Asensio. You play for Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain. You've got to be a good footballer. He plays for Spain. And again, he offers something completely different. Again, like an attacking midfielder, wide player. Not a ball carrier like Rodgers and JJ. More skillful, probably more of a passer, someone who can unlock defenses. And it's something we desperately need, that creativity. Yeah. And I can see why. And this game was probably the example of why we're going after two of these, these two guys, Rashford and Asensio. These two guys would probably be, opening up that Wolves defence and creating chances for others. So I'm pretty excited about both. I spoke to a mate of mine who's a massive Man United fan, goes to watch,
I thought you were about to say, I spoke to a mate of mine at Emery, and he told me.
No, not yet. I'll speak to him later. But no, I was speaking to a mate, and he sort of said, he's just had his time at United now, Rashford. He just needs to move on. And you get that. And the guy's been there since he was 7 or 8 years old, and just needs to move on. And yes, I'm pretty excited about both. I think we definitely need reinforcements in that forward area, and I think both of those will offer something very different. Like I said, I sort of put my neck on the line a bit earlier and said we will sign a centre back before the close of the window. So, Monchi and Emery, if you are listening, make sure you get it done, fellas.
But if you don't get it done, at Rhino_Watkins,
let me know. But no, I am confident. I think there's going to be a lot of business for a lot of clubs now in the next 48 hours. And once one domino falls, like we said, I think a few will go. But centre-back for me is the next priority. If these two guys come through the door, I'll be happy. If we get, Marlon, Garcia, Asensio, Rashford, and a centre-back, I think that's a big change to the squad in one window, isn't it? That's a fair chunk, isn't it?
Is Joao Felix, is he dead? Is he dead? But is that deal?
I don't think he's dead. No, I think he's still alive.
No, he's not dead. Is that deal done? Do you reckon? Is it it's a no-go? He doesn't want to come again?
Oh, I think if we get Rashford and Asensio, it probably is done. But you did mention the Man United rumours, mate. Could there be something in that? Does Bailey move to Man United and we still get Joao Felix? I doubt it, but you never know.
Would you let Bailey go in this window?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would. I would with what we've started. If that's if we get Rashford and Asensio in, and we've already got Daniel Marlon in.
I love Liam Bailey. He's done a really good job for the club and stuff. I love him and stuff, but I don't know, for some reason something's not working this season for him. And
I think if the money's there, I think why not take it? I think we can. He hasn't had a great season. Very grateful for what he did last season, and won't forget what he did to get us into Champions League. But this season's just been very frustrating. If a big offer comes in, I would take it. Yes.
I don't know if I would take it if it was a loan offer. I wouldn't want to take it if it was a loan offer. No. I'd rather keep him with us if it's going to be a loan deal. But if it's a transfer with money and a proper transfer, then I think I'd be open to to letting him go there, to be honest, because I think he's a good player and he has his day and he's done really good things for us. And I think the fan base has been really patient with him, but there just appears to be something at the moment where he's just not firing and just not consistent, and we just can't put on. We don't know what it is. It could be that, you know, he's having little niggling injuries, and Emery's saying to him, you know, like, being a Harry Redknapp, come on, son, if you just do this, I'll give you 20 grand or something. You know, he could just be encouraging him to play. We just need you. We need your experience or something like that. You know.
No, I agree.
Harry Redknapp did that, but yeah.
No, I agree with you. I wouldn't want to see him go on loan. Like, I'd obviously be if the window shuts, you know, in 48 hours and he's still at Villa, more than happy. But if a big offer did come in, then I think they'd have to seriously consider it. Yeah, we'll see what happens though. But yeah, it's going to be interesting next 48 hours to see what happens. And yeah,
can we do a very very brief discussion on John Duran going to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia?
Great. Absolutely. Give us your thoughts, Tess, because I was on with Spud in midweek and we sort of touched on it.
Oh, did you touch on it?
Not lots, but we sort of spoke about it a little bit. You give us your thoughts though, mate.
So at first I kind of had mixed emotions about John Duran. But I think in the last last whole season and a half or so, it's just been a merry-go-round of transfer rumours, hasn't it? You know, I didn't want to be here. Other clubs are coming in. He's making signs that he wants to go to West Ham, and then it was Chelsea and so on and so forth. He got offered a new contract, and then a week ago, Emery said, I want to keep both Ollie Watkins here and I want to keep John Duran here. And when I watched the presser with Emery, he said, he told the media, I told you last week, I want Ollie here and I want John Duran here for a long time. I want them here. But what does he want? And so that told me that John Duran just didn't want to be playing football at Aston Villa. Now, I don't know if it's just because of Aston Villa. You know, he's fairly young guy who's grown up in a different kind of environment to a lot of our young players here. And he's got a big bunch of people around him, family, all this sort of stuff. And he's saying to himself, I'm probably should be starting matches ahead of Ollie. I think, in his opinion, he should be starting matches against all these teams ahead of Ollie Watkins. He feels like he thinks he's a better player than Ollie Watkins. I would disagree with that. I don't think he's a better player than Ollie Watkins, but I think he has the potential to be. And he's made a decision not just on where he's playing football over the next couple of years, but on where he goes in terms of his legacy. Because you're that young, and if you have an opportunity to play in the Champions League, and you never know, I know how far Aston Villa get in the Champions League, but if you want to play for the top clubs, they're going to be looking at you, and they're going to be Champions League teams are going to be looking at you playing and the performances that you do there. They're not looking at you playing in Saudi Arabia to 50 people. It comes down to you're going there because the package that they're offering you makes sense for you and it makes sense for your family. It goes down to finance. Now, I don't begrudge him for leaving the club because he's going to be paid a lot more money. He's also going to get to play a lot more minutes and play a lot more games. But at what standard are you playing those games? You know, what kind of legacy are you going to be, and how are you going to become that top player if you decide to go and play in what might be the equivalent to, I don't want to be disrespectful, but a not so high league, you know? And you are playing with big names. You're playing with big names over there, but are those big names at the top of their career? Absolutely not. None of them. If you're going over there and you're playing, you might be at the end of your career, or you're thinking the financial benefit is just too much. But you're not seriously thinking about winning big trophies anymore. You're going to play and have a really nice life, play the game that you love playing, and you're going to get really well paid and rewarded for it. I think he's gone because he's going to be well rewarded. We can see what happens in 2 years' time, whether he's killing it over there, and then somebody, a Champions League team in Europe somewhere says, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have him. We'll get him over, and maybe can do the job here." But will he be able to do the job then? That's the question. So, yeah, I was disappointed that he wanted to go, but I mean, look, live your life, man, and be what you want to be. Unfortunately, it wasn't with Aston Villa. You didn't want to help us to in the Champions League. To see how far we can get in the Champions League, you got to look after yourself and you got to look after your family and where you want to go in life in football. So, good luck to him, is what I would say. But disappointed. Disappointed though. Like, yeah, I'm disappointed, and I've said, I don't know, I'm not taking it too personally, but I think it's a real thing though. You have to sort of try and understand why you're making these decisions. And we're in a very good place right now. We're in the last 16 of the Champions League. Why wouldn't you say, hey, I'm going to just wait until the end of this season. Let's see how far I can get in the Champions League, because maybe Al Nassr are offering me 300 grand a week. But what's to say that I can't go and get 300 grand a week in one of these other European teams who are going to be playing Champions League every season? Yeah. The questions that he has to ask himself, I suppose. But yeah, I'm disappointed that he's not with us. But I'm looking forward to what we're going to have coming in.
Same. I think you've summed it up quite nicely there, mate. And for me, I sort of touched on it in the last pod. If a player doesn't want to be at Villa and has been angling for a move since, in the last season, start of this season, I just don't think it's worth holding on to players if they don't want to be here, and the disruption that causes. And it's very good money, isn't it? From, 70 million pounds for a player that, has played not a lot of games for Villa, really. It's a win-win for everyone. He wants to leave Villa, getting the money. Yeah, I'm disappointed as well. I'd love to have seen Duran stick around for the rest of the season, but I knew whether he was on the bench or even if he'd have been starting instead of Watkins from now until the end of the season and had a really good season, he would have still been angling for a move. I just feel like he's that type of player. He was never going to stick around anyway. So the offer's there. I think the club was smart to take it while the offer's there. You never know what's around the corner. Do you if a player gets injured or what happens? And he strikes me as the kind of player who could be quite disruptive as well. And if he doesn't get what he wants or gets his move, then who knows what that's going to do for the rest of the team. And we move on now, don't we? And we get a few more bodies in, and hopefully these guys can hit the ground running and sort of replace the goals that we had with Duran. Hard to replace the chaos of Duran. I don't think we'll ever do that. But,
but perhaps we'll get the goals and less chaos with the Marlon, And also, fantastic business by the club. How much did we pay for him? 18 million, 15 to 18 million. Yeah. And how much we sold him for? Great business by the club. Yeah. Great business.
And we, the club have got to be smart in these, it's a business at the end of the day. And they're looking at, not just this window, January, they're looking at the summer, the next one after that, the next one after that. They've got to position themselves financially as well. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, and I'm sure that's come into their thinking. We are still overhauling a squad. Unai Emery's, clearly shifting players out, and this money will go a long way to helping us do that as well. So, no, I think that's drawn a line under it nicely there, Tez.
Yeah. Brilliant. Got to say hello to the Villa fan. Morning. We're in the evening. It's
evening for us.
Yeah, it's 10 to 10 your time, Rhino. Is it?
10 to 10 at night, yeah.
And it's 10 to 9 my time in Brisbane. So, yeah, welcome and good morning to all of those. If you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world, thank you for popping in. Mark Smith has asked if we can have a FPL update.
He must be top then, is he? If he's asking for an update, he must be top of the table.
The problem I have here, and I don't want to make excuses, is that my camera is there with my mobile phone, and so I can't check, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's really bad, isn't it?
Maybe my battery's gone flat as well, Smithy.
Yeah. So could we check that next time? we'll check that next time, Mark. And I'll let you know. I'll send you a WhatsApp. I'll let you know. But I promised to mention it on the next podcast to make sure that I do know that I'm against the Gold Coast villains as well, like the Gold Coast Villa, and I'm not too bad there as well. I'm catching up to those boys. There's two boys at the front there, and I'm catching them. So I just haven't been able to look, and I forgot to do my team this week as well.
Look, I have, if Smithy, I'll save you, mate. I have got the league table up here. So, right, number 1 at the moment is James Mason, the Sultans of Unai. Number 2, Holt End FC, Joe Merchant. Number 3, Rossi's Giants, Mark Smithy Smith. Top 3, mate. He's in and around it. So
unbelievable.
He's doing well. And just to update us, the presenters of this pod, Spud is in 10th place.
How many points has he got?
What's Spud got? 1,405.
Oh,
Tess. Rhino's in 13th place, back from the dead. Tess is in 15th place.
Oh, I told you I should have done my team. Unbelievable. This is ridiculous. Oh, I feel like I'm losing the internet connection all of a sudden. Hello to Martin McKeever. How are you, buddy?
Morning,
all the way
Martin.
over there in New
Martin.
Zealand. It's afternoon for those, but yeah, evening for you guys too, isn't it? Evening. So hello, Martin. I don't think we've even had you in here before, but welcome.
You're welcome, mate.
Yeah, good to see you, and hopefully you'll join us, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you guys have questions, by the way, please put them in the chat and the comments, and we'd love to have discussions about them. So the next podcast we'll do will be to discuss transfers. I believe we're going to try and come back in the next couple of days on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Maybe? Is it Wednesday?
Yeah, we'll try for Wednesday. We'll do a bit of a roundup of the window, discuss who we've signed, and go through the players and give our general thoughts of what we think.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we do the Asensio is fine with the medical and stuff. I'm hoping that we do get Marcus Rashford. I'm looking forward to him getting a good I'm looking forward to all of them getting a really good welcome at Villa Park. I'm looking forward to a centre back, because if we don't get a centre back, then I don't know. I have to send like Twitter messages to my mate at Rhino just because he says we're going to get a centre back, and the wild card could be a surprise. It's gone a bit quiet, but could be a surprise that João Felix is possible. Could do it if he wants to play football and play Champions League football. He could help us to get as far as we can get in the Champions League. That should be an incentive, and then after that, just like come on loan perhaps, and then after that, just, if you do good, you might get a move that you want. But Aston Villa's a great club. You should come and be with all the other boys. That's what I reckon.
You're selling it to him.
Yeah, hey, he's not even listening to me though. He doesn't even know I'm here. So all right. I think we're going to wrap it up here, Rhino. Yep. Unless you have anything else that you'd like to say just before we go.
No, thanks for everyone in the chat there, Smithy, Martin McKeever, Villa fan, everyone jumping on. We really appreciate the comments. And yeah, like we said, if you can just jump on, like, subscribe, get involved on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever socials your preference. We're on there at Villa Pride Down Under, at Pride Down Under as well on X. If you can get involved, that'd be great.
Great. And look, I want to thank everybody for listening. Looking forward to having Spud back so we can have a real good discussion about our transfer activity. Thank you all for taking part today. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.